I should have seen it coming. The familiar smirk, the practiced condescension, the way he adjusted his custom-made suit before delivering what he thought would be another crushing blow to his underachieving sister. "Still running that little shop of yours, Emma?" Michael asked, swirling his 18-year-old scotch in a crystal glass that probably cost more than what he assumed I made in a month. We were at our parents' monthly family dinner, a tradition that had become more of a status report than a family gathering. The mahogany dining table that had witnessed 20 years of sibling rivalry now held another elaborate spread, another opportunity for Michael to showcase his success as Boston's youngest partner at Preston Hayes, the city's most prestigious law firm. I looked down at my simple black dress, no designer label, no flashy jewelry, and smiled. "Yes, still running it." "Fascinating," he drawled, not meaning it at all. "And what is it again?" "Some sort of online thing." Our mother, Elizabeth, shot me a concerned look from across the table. She'd never understood why I'd turned down law school to start my own business. In her world, success had a very specific look: degrees from elite universities, corner offices, and country club memberships. "E-commerce solutions," I said quietly, cutting into my perfectly cooked steak. "We help businesses scale their online presence." Michael laughed, that sharp, dismissive sound I'd grown up hearing. "Right, like those dropshipping schemes college kids run from their dorm rooms. At least it keeps you busy." I thought about the contracts sitting on my desk, the acquisition deals pending approval, the international expansion plans that would reshape global e-commerce. But I stayed quiet. Timing was everything. "Michael just made partner," our father James announced proudly, as if we hadn't heard it the first 50 times. "Youngest in the firm's history." "And," Michael added, straightening his tie, "we're about to announce our biggest client ever. Revolutionary tech company. Absolutely massive deal." I took a sip of water, hiding my smile. If only he knew. "That's wonderful, dear," Mom beamed. "Emma, perhaps Michael could help you formalize your little business. Make it more legitimate." "I'm managing, Mom." "Managing isn't thriving," Michael interjected. "You know, one of our junior associates has a sister who's looking for admin work. Maybe she could show you how a real business operates." The crystal chandelier above us cast shadows across the formal dining room, highlighting the wall of achievements: Michael's law degree, his bar admission, his press features. My space on that wall had remained conspicuously empty since I'd left corporate law to start my company. "Tell us about this big client," Dad urged Michael, his eyes gleaming with pride. Michael sat up straighter, if that was possible. "Can't reveal too much yet, but think tech giant. Think revolution in e-commerce. Think billions." I dabbed my lips with the linen napkin, remembering the email I'd sent that morning to Preston Hayes, confirming our company as their new client. The largest contract in the firm's history, with one specific condition: I would reveal myself as the CEO only during the first official meeting. "Speaking of business," Michael continued, "did you hear about Sarah Peterson? Remember her from high school? She just sold her startup for 8 figures. Now that's how you run a business." He looked at me pointedly. "Some people just understand scale." Mom jumped in, ever the peacekeeper. "Emma's business is different. More modest. There's nothing wrong with that." "Nothing wrong with it?" Michael scoffed. "Mom, she's wasting her potential. Harvard Law wanted her. She could have been somebody." I thought about my office, not the small storefront they thought I worked from, but the real one. 40 stories above Boston's financial district, with a view that made Michael's corner office look like a storage closet. The irony would be delicious if it wasn't so sad. "How many employees do you have now?" Michael asked, though he clearly didn't care. "Still just you and that college friend of yours?" "We've grown a bit," I said. In reality, we had over 3,000 employees across 12 countries, but who was counting? "Growth is relative, I suppose," he smirked. "Hey, if you ever need legal advice about closing up shop, first consultation's free. Family discount." Dad chuckled at his joke while Mom busied herself with rearranging the table settings. The weight of their assumptions hung in the air like expensive perfume, overwhelming, suffocating. "Actually," I said, setting down my fork, "I might need a law firm soon. For expansion." Michael nearly choked on his scotch. "Expansion? Emma, let's be realistic. You run a glorified website builder from a strip mall office. What kind of expansion could you possibly need?" If he only knew that my glorified website builder, had revolutionized e-commerce infrastructure, that we'd developed proprietary technology that Amazon was trying desperately to replicate, that our latest valuation had added another zero to an already impressive number. You never know, I said softly. Things change. Some things don't, he countered. Some people are meant for greatness, others. He gestured vaguely in my direction. Find their level. The dinner continued, a carefully choreographed dance of achievements and announcements. Michael's new penthouse, his membership at the exclusive Bristol Club, his recent feature in Boston Business Monthly. Emma, Mom said during dessert, I ran into Joyce Thompson at the club. Her daughter's company is hiring entry-level marketing positions. Should I pass along your resume? I thought about the stack of resumes on my desk, Harvard MBAs and Silicon Valley veterans desperate to join my company. About the acquisition offers from tech giants that I'd turned down. About the fact that Joyce Thompson's daughter had actually applied for a position with us last month. We'd politely declined. Thanks, Mom, but I'm good. Are you, though? Michael pressed. Really? When was the last time you took a vacation? Bought something nice for yourself? Had any real success? I looked at my brother, really looked at him. Behind the expensive suit and practice swagger, I saw something I'd missed before. Fear. Not of me, not yet, but of falling behind, of losing his position at the top of the family hierarchy. Success isn't always visible, I said quietly. He laughed again, louder this time. In our world it is. That's why some of us are featured in Business Monthly while others. He gestured at my simple outfit, my modest watch, my unassuming presence. Others just dreamed small. Little did he know that tomorrow his world would shatter. That his big client announcement would become the moment his carefully constructed superiority crumbled. That his little sister's small business would reveal itself to be the tech giant his firm had been pursuing for months. But for now I just smiled and asked Mom to pass the dessert. After dinner, as I walked to my car, a practical Volvo that Michael loved to mock, my phone buzzed. A text from my CFO, acquisition papers ready. Law firm meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Everything set for the reveal. I looked back at the house, at the window where Michael stood bragging to Dad about tomorrow's meeting. About how he'd personally brought in the biggest client in the firm's history. About how this would cement his legacy. Ready to approve your first billion-dollar expansion, big brother? I whispered to myself, starting the car. The next 24 hours would change everything. But tonight I'd let him have his moment. Let him believe in his superiority one last time. Because tomorrow in his own conference room he'd learn what real success looked like. And it wouldn't be wearing a designer suit. 5 years earlier I sat in a real strip mall office, but not for the reasons my family assumed. It was where I first discovered the fundamental flaw in global e-commerce infrastructure. A problem so basic, yet so profound that solving it would change everything. I remember the day I quit Preston Hayes, where I'd been a junior associate on track for partnership. Michael, already rising through the ranks, had smirked from his office as I carried out my small box of belongings. Finally accepting that law isn't for you, he'd called out. Don't worry, not everyone's cut out for real success. What he didn't see was the patent application in my bag or the business plan that had kept me up for months, or the early code that would eventually become the backbone of my company, Nova Technologies. The strip mall office was perfect cover. A small front operation while the real work happened in a secured facility 2 buildings away. My first team consisted of 5 people, all brilliant, all overlooked by traditional tech companies. We worked 18-hour days fueled by cheap coffee and expensive dreams. Your brother's making partner, Mom would remind me during our weekly calls. And you're still playing with websites. Playing. If only they knew that while Michael celebrated court victories, I was rebuilding the foundation of digital commerce. That while he boasted about billable hours, I was filing patents that would be worth billions. The first breakthrough came 9 months in. We developed a system that could process e-commerce transactions 50 times faster than existing platforms, with 99.99% accuracy. When we tested it, the results were so impressive that our servers crashed. I remember calling my first major investor, Sarah Chin, at 3 a.m. We did it, I said, my hands shaking. It actually works. Her response was immediate. How much do you need? 20 million to start. He didn't hesitate. Done. But why aren't we announcing this? I thought about Michael's condescending smile, about Mom's worried glances, about Dad's dismissive waves. Not yet, I said. Let's build first. Prove everything. Then we'll talk about announcements. The company grew exponentially but quietly. We moved the real operations to a secure facility outside Boston, maintaining the strip mall office as a front. Every time my family asked about my business, I'd direct them there, to the small space with its modest sign and basic furniture. Meanwhile, Nova Technologies was revolutionizing e-commerce. Our system wasn't just faster, it was smarter, more secure, more scalable. Major retailers started adopting it. Then international companies. Then governments. Still working late at your little shop? Michael would text while I was actually in meetings with tech giants and government officials. Someone has to, I'd reply, sitting in my real office 40 stories above Boston watching my empire grow. The valuation hit $1 billion 2 years in. I celebrated by buying a penthouse in the building next to Michael's law firm. Not that I ever told them. I watched from my window as he left work each day, proud in his success, completely unaware that his struggling sister could buy his firm 10 times over. Then came the global expansion. Nova's system was revolutionizing markets in Europe, Asia, South America. We maintained absolute privacy. No press releases, no social media presence, no public face. Our clients knew who we were, but we required strict NDAs. I wanted to succeed on our terms, not for show. Emma needs to be realistic, I overheard Mom telling her friends at the country club. Not everyone can be as successful as Michael. I was in the club that day, meeting privately with tech executives in a back room, signing contracts worth more than the club's annual revenue. The irony wasn't lost on me. The decision to approach Preston and Hayes came after careful consideration. We needed a top law firm for our next phase of expansion, and they were the best. The fact that Michael was there? That was just poetic justice. Your brother's firm is handling the Nova.We account, Dad mentioned at dinner one night, bursting with pride. Biggest tech client they've ever had. I nodded, remembering the email I'd just sent approving the contract. We'd used our holding company name, Nova.We, keeping Nova Technologies hidden until the right moment. The company grew beyond even my expectations. Our technology was processing trillions in transactions. Major platforms depended on our infrastructure. We were, quietly but definitively, becoming indispensable. You should see my new office, Michael bragged last week. Corner suite, executive bathroom, full staff. I looked out from my actual office, entire floor, private elevator, global command center, and smiled. Sounds nice. The decision to reveal everything wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. About showing that success doesn't always wear designer suits or need constant validation. Sometimes it works quietly, builds steadily, changes the world without needing applause. Yesterday I signed the final papers. Nova Technologies would officially engage Preston and Hayes, with one condition: I would reveal myself as CEO during the first meeting. Michael's meeting. The one he'd been bragging about for weeks. This client will make my career, he'd boasted at dinner. Tech company worth billions. Revolutionary stuff. I let him talk, let him bask in his perceived coup. Let him believe one last time that he had achieved something I never could. My phone buzzed, another text from my CFO. Everything's set for tomorrow. Board approved the expansion plan. $3.2 billion initial investment. I looked at my reflection in the office window. Simple black dress, minimal jewelry, quiet confidence. Tomorrow, in Michael's precious conference room, his entire worldview would shift. But tonight I had work to do. Real work. The kind that changes the world without needing permission or praise. Because tomorrow wasn't about showing up my brother. It was about showing him, showing all of them, that success doesn't need announcing. It just needs to be real. The morning of the reveal, I dressed with careful consideration. The same style of simple black dress I always wore, but this one from my private collection. Oscar de la Renta, not that anyone would notice or care. A subtle reminder to myself that power doesn't need to announce itself. Preston and Hayes occupied the top floors of a gleaming tower in downtown Boston. As my driver pulled up to the entrance, I could see Michael standing in the lobby with the other partners, practically bouncing with anticipation. Their biggest client meeting. His crowning achievement. Ms. Wilson, the security guard greeted me, using my holding company's surname. The partners are expecting you. I noticed my brother's head turn at the sound of a new arrival, then dismiss me just as quickly. After all, what could this unassuming woman in a simple dress possibly have to do with his big moment? Running late, Emma? He called out, that familiar condescension in his voice. The cleaning staff entrance is around back. Several partners chuckled. I smiled, walking past them toward the executive elevator. Actually, I'm right on time. This is a private elevator, Michael said sharply. For executives and important clients only. I held up my access card, the one sent specifically to the CEO of Nova Technologies. His eyes widened slightly, confusion crossing his face. There must be some mistake, he started, but the elevator was already closing. See you upstairs, brother, I said softly as the doors shut. The conference room was immaculate, wall-to-wall windows, leather chairs, and a spectacular view of Boston Harbor. The managing partners were already seated, along with their senior team. Michael rushed in moments later, straightening his tie. The CEO of Nova.We should be here any moment, he announced importantly. This is a transformative day for Preston and Hayes. I took my seat at the head of the table, opening my laptop. Shall we begin? Michael frowned. We need to wait for Dash. The CEO of Nova Technologies? I interrupted quietly. She's already here. The room went silent. Michael's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, dawning horror. No, he whispered. I stood, smoothing my simple dress. Hello, everyone. I'm Emma Wilson, founder and CEO of Nova Technologies, also known as Nova.We. I believe we have some contracts to discuss. The managing partner recovered first, his face breaking into a broad smile. Ms. Wilson. We had no idea. Dash. That's impossible, Michael interrupted. Emma runs a small web design shop. She's nobody. Actually, I said, clicking a button on my laptop that activated the room's presentation screen, I run this. The displays filled with Nova's real statistics. Global reach. Market penetration. Valuation. Revenue streams. With each number, Michael seemed to shrink further into his chair. As you can see, I continued calmly, we're planning a significant expansion. We'll need comprehensive legal services. Your firm comes highly recommended. $3 billion. Michael choked, staring at the investment figures. But you drive a Volvo. Good safety ratings, I replied. Now about the contracts. The next hour was surreal. I walked them through Nova's expansion plans while Michael sat in stunned silence. His carefully constructed worldview crumbling with each slide, each figure, each casual mention of billions. Of course, we'll need a dedicated team, I said, wrapping up. Unfortunately, given our history, I don't think Michael would be the best fit to lead it. The managing partner nodded quickly. Completely understood, Ms. Wilson. We'll assemble our top team. Dash. Emma. Michael finally found his voice. Why didn't you tell me? I looked at my brother, really looked at him. The expensive suit suddenly seemed cheap. The practiced swagger replaced by genuine uncertainty. Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. Or would you have dismissed it as another small dream from your struggling sister? The meeting ended with signed contracts and shell-shocked partners. As everyone filed out, Michael remained seated, staring at the presentation still glowing on the screens. All this time, he muttered. The little shop. The simple clothes. Success doesn't need to be visible to be real, I said, gathering my things. Some of us prefer to let our work speak for itself. Mom and Dad, they don't know? They will now. I handed him my business card, the real one with Nova's logo and my CEO title. Family dinner should be interesting this month. As I walked toward the door, he called out, Wait. I've been horrible to you. Yes, I agreed, turning back. You have. How did you build all this without anyone knowing? I smiled slightly. The same way I did everything else, quietly, efficiently, and without needing anyone's approval or praise. The ride down was silent. Through the elevator's glass walls, I could see Boston spreading out before me, my real office tower in the distance. The strip mall where it all began barely visible on the horizon. My phone buzzed, a message from Mom. Darling, did something happen? Michael just called, sounding strange. Said we need to talk about you. Another text followed. And why are you on CNBC right now? I stepped out into the lobby just as the news started breaking. The mysterious Nova Technologies, backbone of global e-commerce, finally revealing its CEO. My photo appearing on financial news networks. My little shop, suddenly recognized as the tech giant it had always been. The security guard who had dismissed me earlier now stood at attention. "Ms. Wilson," he said, this time with genuine respect. Outside, my driver held the door to my real car, not the Volvo but the Rolls-Royce I used for business meetings. As I slid into the leather interior, I caught sight of Michael watching from the lobby, his world forever changed. My phone buzzed again, the family group chat exploding with messages, questions, confusion. Dad sharing news links. Mom sending a stream of exclamation points. Relatives who had dismissed me for years suddenly remembering they had always believed in me. But I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I directed my driver to the strip mall, the place where it all began. The small office still stood there, modest and unassuming. A reminder that greatness doesn't need grand announcements or constant validation. Sometimes it just needs silence, determination, and the patience to wait for the right moment to show the world and your family what you've built. As the sun set over Boston, casting long shadows across the city I had quietly helped reshape, I thought about success, real success. Not the kind that needs corner offices and constant praise, but the kind that changes the world without asking permission. My phone buzzed one final time. "Michael, I'm sorry. For everything. And I'm proud of you, sis." I smiled, watching the lights come on across the city, knowing that somewhere in those gleaming towers, my brother was finally seeing me, really seeing me for the first time. And that, more than any contract or valuation, felt like true success.